With a huge selection of animatronics available within the FNAF universe, some of them have seemingly been forgotten. So today we'll be covering the truth behind all of the main ones who disappeared, starting with Glamrock Mr Hippo. Glamrock Mr Hippo was a separate version of the original Mr Hippo that was given a similar look to the other Glamrock band members while also playing the triangle for some reason. He had a strange appearance in one of FNAF Security Breach's multiple endings where he popped up as a new animatronic introduced as Freddy's replacement in the main Glamrock band, cementing him in as the backup band member who would go on to never make another appearance. A more mysterious removal from the franchise that was much different than the fate of the Beaver animatronic. But what the heck even is this Beaver animatronic? And it turns out the answer actually started with a totally different game than Five Nights at Freddy's, one that was made by the same creator, Scott Cawthon. You see, shortly before the rise of FNAF as a whole, Scott Cawthon created a little game called Chipper & Sons Lumber Co., a game starring a creepy looking beaver whose design specifically stuck out as important, with so many reviews of the game calling it out as creepy and almost like a quote, horrifying animatronic. The game's creator Scott started to come up with a whole new idea, which is where a Beaver animatronic first came into play, as leaning into this horrifying animatronic concept is exactly what Scott did. A concept that had to go along with the same character who inspired it in the first place, the Beaver. You see, Scott has admitted in multiple public interviews how a Beaver animatronic was meant to be one of the main original characters in the first Five Nights at Freddy's game, only with this concept fully being replaced with Foxy in the finalized version of the game. The story surrounding this Beaver animatronic actually wasn't over yet. Despite its sad omission in the first game, Scott Cawthon had eventually decided that there was still a way to seamlessly introduce the concept in a future game, Pizzeria Simulator. You see, with the wide range of wacky new restaurant-oriented animatronics being added in the Tycoon section of the game, Scott finally had his opportunity to make one of them a little more special than the rest. El Chip, a Beaver animatronic who's been widely considered as the FNAFified version of Scott's original Beaver game character, the same character who's finally given his big send-off from the franchise in FNAF World. See, FNAF World actually ended up introducing the original version of Scott's Beaver character as a secret robot boss you have to defeat, only this appearance in the game was made out to be a lot more important than you might think. It turns out during the ending cutscene, after finally defeating Chipper, he says something in particular that stuck out from the rest of his final speech. It was never fair. It was supposed to be me. It was supposed to be me. Which, while yes, did fit the context of FNAF World, also fit together with the idea of Chipper being replaced as a character in the original FNAF game. As we're told, he likely says this line as a reminder to the fact that he was in the original game that inspired the FNAF franchise in the first place. And despite this inspiration, Foxy was the one who ended up taking his place. It was supposed to be me, making a sad ending for this Beaver animatronic concept that was a lot different than the next one on our list, Yenndo. While at first glance Yenndo appeared to simply be the exoskeleton of Funtime Freddy from Sister Location, there's actually a lot more to the story here. Besides appearing in the making of section of the game behind the scenes, Yenndo additionally popped up as a sort of Easter egg in the actual Sister Location game. On night 3 specifically, during the Flash Beacon section of the game, he had a very rare chance of briefly appearing instead of Funtime Freddy. While Yenndo strangely didn't have the ability to actually jump scare, his movement patterns were what set him apart as being a more special animatronic than we first realized. You see, after analyzing Yenddo's programming in a separate game, Ultimate Custom Night, many players found that it all matched together perfectly with another important character in the FNAF franchise, Golden Freddy. Just like Golden Freddy, Yenndo would completely disregard doors and specifically appear on the right side of the private room at certain periods. But the strange concept of Yenndo connecting to Golden Freddy went even further, considering the fact that even the character's name, Yenndo, which was short for Yellow Endo due to his strikingly yellow eyes, additionally connected to Golden Freddy's yellowish appearance. More proof that there was something unique about this rare animatronic that set it apart from the rest. only with Yenndo's appearance in the franchise being specifically tied to Funtime Freddy, the mystery surrounding the animatronic remained unsolved after his most recent role in Help Wanted 2. And while his involvement in the game simply faded over time, Electrobab was another story. A very underutilized animatronic who was periodically removed from the FNAF universe entirely for some reason. Their only original appearance ended up being in the custom night of Sister location alongside Yenndo, Bonnet, and Beaver, who was essentially Electrobab's twin that had a few key differences. You see, as the name suggests, Electrobab had the extra functionality of being able to control the power and electricity, draining it until it gets hit with a controlled shock. Only periodically, Electrobab was taken out of the game completely, being replaced by a second Beaver in 2020 instead. But despite this extended period without Electrobab being included in the FNAF universe at all, it ended up being re-added for good a month after its replacement. And following this big return, Electrobab would go on to never make another appearance in any other FNAF game, making it one of the only animatronics to never appear outside of Sister location. But the same can't be said for our next animatronic, Shadow Bonnie, a shadowy version of Toy Bonnie that had a crazy mystery tied to his ongoing roles in the game that led up to his disappearance. You see, Shadow Bonnie was first spotted as a rare Easter egg that went along with a big question. Who the heck even is this? With his growing presence in future games coming along with mysterious lore details, his true identity throughout the FNAF franchise was clearly meant to be important. But the answers to this animatronic's mystery finally started to come together with the discovery of his secret minigame in FNAF 3, the Shadow Bonnie minigame, a special cutscene in the game where we were finally given more context towards Shadow Bonnie's identity and purpose in the FNAF universe. It all started with what we saw here, a glitched out representation of Shadow Bonnie moving along throughout the other secret FNAF 3 minigames. But what would this tell us about Shadow Bonnie in the first place? Well, we saw how based on Shadow Bonnie having the Stage 01 minigame set as his starting point in his own minigame, there was likely a possible connection between the two. We were given further proof of this based on the open loop Stage 01 was setting up for us in the first place. The fact that this minigame revealed the backstory of one of the missing children, only the specific missing child highlighted in the minigame was never identified. A mystery that, when pieced together with Shadow Bonnie's strange origins, started to make a lot more sense. You see, Shadow Bonnie was also more recently connected to the idea of remnants, the soul energy substance laid out in the FNAF universe as something linked to agony, an emotion that would obviously connect to a traumatic event, including exactly what we saw during the Stage 01 minigame. But how do we know for sure that this agony, or remnants as it's more commonly known, would connect to Shadow Bonnie specifically? Well, seeing as Shadow Bonnie was proven to be made up of this same substance, having a further connection to the Stage 01 minigame would perfectly explain how this remnant came to be in the first place. Shadow Bonnie potentially appeared as a result of what we saw laid out here, which would tie into his later appearances in the FNAF universe, where he was linked even stronger to the idea of remnant before he would eventually fade out as a character that was utilized much less. And while Shadow Bonnie was slowly removed from the general FNAF spotlight, the FNAF movie was another story. Specifically, the third film that we were actually given early information towards, helping to piece together everything we can expect for its release and general theme. And I'm able to put together these expectations for you into this video right here. So for what we know about the next FNAF movie, make sure to check it out.